Leadership sometimes is predictable. Sometimes it is mastery. Sometimes it is normal. Sometimes it's from a regulated nervous system. And sometimes leadership is raw. It's vulnerable. It makes us shit our pants in the name of our evolution and our soul's expansion. So, if you aren't sure where to head in 2023 yet, this episode will activate the fuck out of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angharad Sage. I am the host of this podcast called Your Galactic Guide Podcast. I am a multiple seven-figure online business creator. I'm a manifester, a conscious mama, a healer. I have two very young kids and an amazing partner. Our relationship has not always been incredible, but I definitely am going to speak about relationship on this podcast this year. But to start off with, I want to share the listener of the week. So the listener of the week is somebody that I'm picking every single week who is listening to this podcast and taking a screenshot and sharing it on their stories and tagging me either at Angharad Sage, my normal business account, or my podcast/spiritual account that's just started, which is at Your Galactic Guide. The links are all down below in the show notes for you, as well as the link to my website if you want to work further with me. So the listener of the week every week is somebody who's tagged me that they're listening to the podcast, and I'm going to be going onto their Instagram or their Facebook, wherever they've tagged me, and giving them some love. I'm picking someone every single week, so the person for this week will be at the end of this episode, and I would love to hear who's listening and for you to share something on this episode that really hit you. That always makes me feel so good when I know and I get the feedback. So let's press on. So we know that there are so many different types of leadership, right? And the two that I have highlighted for this episode is the polished and mastery expected, everyone understands it from us. And then there's the other side, which is the vulnerable, the raw, we've not really spoken about it before, if ever, and we're shitting our pants to even begin to start the idea of even sharing about this stuff, because we have integrated it, but we haven't allowed other people to see it. There's still elements of wobbles. There's still elements of shame. There's still elements of, oh my God, can I actually lead in this? And as I just did this work for myself over the past few weeks, I want to share this with you so that you can evolve like a manifester at rapid fucking speed, okay? Now, because we feel nervous and because we don't feel polished and because we don't feel perfect, we can judge ourselves in this type of leadership thinking I'm not good enough yet, or I'll be good enough when, or it'll be good enough when, or in the future, or in 6 months' time, or 12 months' time, whatever it is. And yet I still remember the times that people had the hugest impact on my life, and it wasn't when they were polished. It wasn't when they were leading from a polished, perfect space. It was their vulnerability. It was their open. It was the newness. It was the rawness that enabled me to be raw with myself. When I was 26 years old, I was in the deepest, darkest part of my journey that I have experienced. I had about 20 years of depression, and on top of that, I had postpartum depression after my second child. I definitely had postpartum depression after my first as well, and I didn't admit to myself that I had depression my whole life. I was a mess, an absolute fucking mess. And the thing that shocked me out of my mess, that activated some of the very first steps, was our accountant shared with us that he had supporters depression because his wife was dying of cancer, in a board meeting with us and our stakeholders, in a planning meeting similar to the things that I'm leading you into at the end of this podcast. It was about the future, and he randomly, it felt to me, shared that with us. And I was so shooketh that someone so professional would share something like that with me. And I walked away from that meeting, and it activated me to see inside myself. And I, for the first time in 20 years, was able to admit to myself that I had depression. And I went and got help. I went on antidepressants. I saw therapists and counselors. And it was the beginning of my personal development journey. So when you're ever questioning your vulnerability, that type of leadership, the vulnerable, raw, not polished leadership, I want you to think of the people that you will impact. Because not all leadership is meant to be perfect and polished and poised and planned. Oh, the alliteration's on fire. Because the edgy, raw, unpredictable leadership side of you is what you're growing into. It is the newness that you have embodied. Now, what we look to in leaders, most often than not, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, is we look to them not only for their leadership, but for their evolutionary leadership, right? If you value that, which of course you do because you're fucking listening to this, but the first thing is for you to realize that you value that. You value that in leaders. You love witnessing their growth and their evolution over time. So therefore, you are being called into the same thing for your people. Now, the people that are called into this type of leadership, into the evolutionary leadership, it's not always easy. The predictable stuff is much more easy. And I just want to let you know that, even myself, who's been in the online leadership space for, oh my gosh, in fact, it's actually the anniversary. It's the anniversary, love. Oh my gosh, how have I not realized this till right now? I had to pause the recordings because I'm not the best with dates. 2019, I started this podcast. January, my birthday, the 13th, which I'm recording this episode on the 7th of January, and you're going to listen to this on a few days later, the 10th probably. So it's the anniversary. It's the fucking anniversary. It's the 4-year anniversary, okay, of this podcast, of me. So the story is I started this podcast because I'd done a whole shit stack of personal development so I'm turning 20, wait, not 20. Now my brain's just disappeared. I'm turning 32. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so how this podcast came to be was it was my first moment where I decided that I wanted to lead outside of my people that I knew face to face. And it was a declaration, and it was fucking scary. You guys don't know this. The first time I recorded a podcast, I recorded 4 and launched them on my birthday. So it was like December, January of 2018/2019. I recorded these podcasts and I edited them all myself in GarageBand. And as I was editing them, I quite literally was vomiting at the sound of my own voice. I hated it so badly. And putting out a podcast was fucking edgy. It was so raw, it was so vulnerable, and I had so much literal inside me that was like vomiting, like who would want to hear this stuff? I don't even want to hear the sound of my own voice, etc., etc. And here I am now, years later, with a multiple 7-figure online coaching business and mentoring business, spiritual business that's evolved so much over the 4 years. It's actually insane how quickly I have grown, and it is because of this work, because I want to say not afraid. I was afraid of doing it, but I walked with the fear, that old cliche saying of I walked with the fear. I was afraid of doing it, but I didn't allow the fear to stop me, because I always knew that vulnerable leadership that I learned so fucking long ago from my accountant, vulnerable leadership is the thing that changed my whole entire life. And that means that I am sharing my leading edge, right? I'm sharing my innovation. I'm sharing something that I have very deeply integrated for myself. But then when you go and teach it, it's raw. It's different. It's crazy. We see ourselves in whole new ways, and it's also part of our healing journey. Part of our healing journey that leads into more leadership, into deeper leadership, is us beginning to talk about it and share about it and lead in it. I just need to backtrack for one hot second because I'm so excited by my realization that it's the anniversary, that this is the perfect time for me to announce to you that I am going to give you guys a discount code, which is podcast40, for 40% off all of my self-paced offers. Now, this is going to stay forever. Discount code is podcast40, and that will get you 40% off all of my self-paced, lifetime access, all future updates, offers on my website forever. I'll put the link down in the description for the link to my website, so you can go through and find all the programs. And this will be including all the new programs that launch, because I have new ones launching all the time. My most signature programs are High Vibe CEO Biz School, which is for designing and launching your soul-aligned business, online business mostly. My other signature one is called Money Manifestation Mastery, which is all of the shit that nobody tells you about manifesting money. It's a divine feminine awakening program filtered through the lens of money, essentially, for you to cosmically pair with the overflow of money. It's a fucking huge course with a whole lot of bonuses. So does High Vibe CEO Biz School as well. I've got programs called Slay Social Sales, all about selling. There's a Transforming Trauma workshop. There's a Creating Your Epic Vision board workshop. There's a $1 Million Woman workshop. There's Becoming the Wealthy Woman masterclass. I have something I ran last year in 2022, which is called University. Oh my God, all the spiritual things that I haven't shared in so many other places. Bust Through the BS, my first program that I ever ran, which is all about mindset. There's the podcast program to design and launch your actual fucking podcast. It's the tits. And there's human design things coming out shortly, which is coming soon. And the Galactic Guide to Sales, Money and Wealth. This is my most recent thing that has gone up in my self-paced library. And it's 3 trainings. One is sales, one is money, one is wealth. And it'll change your whole entire life. So anyway, the podcast, that's currently what's on there right now. So the discount is podcast 40, and you can take advantage of that right now, and you can take advantage of it in the future, because it's not going away. This is the anniversary, the 4-year anniversary thing. Oh my God, I can't believe it's been 4 years. This is insane. So much has changed and precipitated through my life because of this radical self-leadership. So I want to share with you these questions that are going to fucking get you there, okay? That are going to get you to see the parts of you that you have not been able to see before. This is my job for you as your mentor, as your fucking galactic guide, to give you the goods. Right, have a pen and paper ready. Otherwise, just know where to come back to, okay? You can mull over it and come back and re-journal on these if you want to. So the first thing for you to meditate on, ponder on, journal, live and breathe, see the different layers of you. Where am I being called to lead? Go deeper in this. This is like not in the, oh, well, Sally said I was good at this. Or other people like it when I talk about this stuff. No, this is the raw shit. The stuff that you're afraid to even admit to yourself, right? Where am I being called to lead? Next one. What areas scare the shit out of me to consider leading in? / what areas have been really important for me? What are the pivotal moments in other people's leadership? Because this can give us like clues. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a mentor, like for me with depression, right? Didn't mean I need to go be a counselor, right? And study to go be a counselor to help people through depression. Like it's what I did, but there's threads. It's like the clues, the treasure hunt threads for us to find. The next one is, what have I embodied over the past 12 to 24 months that nobody fucking knows about? This is where you've been hiding. This is the magic stuff. This is the sprinkles on the fucking cake that changes everything, okay? And the fourth thing is, if there were no motherfucking rules, which there isn't, by the way, how would I like to lead? What am I being called into? / if there were no fucking rules and I wasn't worried about money, what would I be leading in? How would I be showing my evolutionary leadership in 2023? It's time for Listener of the Week. Okay, so our very first person is Elena Williamson. Her handle is at the Elena, TheAlana, Williamson, WILLIAMSON. So she's a Master of Fine Arts, a business coach for mamas, and an Oscar choreographer. Yes, bitch. Okay, I love your page. So she's coined herself as a a coach for mama entrepreneurs. Now, as a mama entrepreneur myself, I want to thank you for doing this work, because there are so many of us when we start, we think that the multidimensionality, the demands of being a mama, and that we're not going to be able to do it good enough, right? That we're not going to be able to do it justice, and that we have a shitload of mum guilt for even doing this, right? It's ridiculous how the men don't have dad guilt for going off to work and having a career or having a side hustle, and yet we do. And anyway, your deep embodiment of feminine energy is so seen throughout your profile, and I am just in fucking love. So, you are the listener of the week. Thank you so much for taking us on the podcast. If you guys want to get featured next week, then you can take a screenshot or even a screen recording of a favourite part of the episode and tag me at Angharad Sage or at Your Galactic Guide on Instagram. I'll have the link for Facebook. Angharad Sage has an extra E down the bottom. So, I love you. I'll see you next week. Oh, thank you for being here as I realise the celebration of the 4-year anniversary. Oh, yay. Oh my gosh, thank you for being here so much. There's like, most of the world listens to my podcast now. Like, it's like, I think 120 countries or something crazy. So I just want to thank every single listener and every single person who shares. It means the absolute world, and I love getting this work into the hands of more people. I love you. I'll see you next week.